I don't.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, October 12th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'm here joined by my man, Mr. Big Marcel. What's up, Marcel? How's everything, man?
All good, man. Pretty busy day today. Pretty pouring rain outside, man. Fucking sucked to be a mailman today, but hey, we made it, and yeah, whatever. Tomorrow is a little bit less busy day, so I'm always happy when Tuesday is done.
Tuesdays are a long day for me too. I do a lot of work on Tuesday. I've been grinding today, guys, but I've done my writing for now. Anyways, probably do some later, but looking forward to talking to you guys about this card this weekend. Let's be honest, it's not the sexiest card on paper, but honestly, the more I broke this card down, Marcel, like there's some pretty fun fights in this card, and I think there's going to be some violent fights on this card. So, and a lot of people, they look at it, there's not a lot of name value, and obviously the main event really shouldn't be a main event, but I think it's a decent fight night. Marcel, like the undercard. But again, it's a weak main event, so I can totally see why people would be kind of on the fence about this one. Tristan, what's up, man? How's everything? Always enjoy having Tristan here on Tuesdays. Marcel, we're going to have a good show today. We're going to talk about UFC Vegas 40, Lad versus Dumont. I think it's Lad versus Dumont. I mean, they're both unranked at 145, but anyways, we got Dan White's Contender Series tonight. We'll talk about that as well. And a lot of fight announcements. You know what? Let's just, while we wait for people to get in the chat, let's talk about a few fight announcements, Marcel, before we break down the card. Just talk for a few minutes here. And Tristan said he was happy to see Marcel's post that Masvidal Edwards happening. Yeah, and your boy Abe Kaba retweeted it, so that's official, guys. That fight's 100% official. I mean, it's a great fight. We should talk about the odds for that fight. I'm going to look at them right now, guys, because we do have odds for that now. And right now, Edwards is the favorite, so he is minus 210, plus 180 for Jorge Masvidal. So I don't think that's any surprise. I mean, we talked about yesterday. Someone in the chat asked like who our lean was, I guess. We both obviously said Edwards should be favored. And he should be, but again, Masvidal's a dangerous guy. He's got some power, and it's just I don't know. It's hard to pick him here, man. Honestly,
we saw Nate Diaz tagging Edwards.
That's what I'm saying. So, yeah, I mean, it's possible it could, but that was in the 5th round. This is only a 3-round fight, which I think favors Leon. I think it favors Leon.
Imagine Masvidal winning the fight, and imagine Colby winning the fight against Usman.
That'd be pretty crazy. I mean,
they're gonna do Colby Masvidal for sure.
It's definitely like a little round robin. So the winner of, I think, the title fight will fight Edwards if he wins the fight. If Masvidal wins, it obviously would have to be coming to winning. But I think if that happened, Marcel, they would probably do the trilogy fight. I think they would do trilogy between Usman coming in. Because again, I was at that first fight, guys. That fight was insane. That was a crazy war. And I think the next fight, next month, it's actually coming up in 3 weeks, Marcel. It's going to be a great fight, man. What's up?
And it's crazy when I talk to people sometimes online. They are like, Usman destroyed Colby. Yeah, in the 5th round, he destroyed him in the last 3 minutes, But that was 2-2 going into the 5th round. It was an amazing fight.
Yeah, I had a 2-2. Some people had a 3-1. I think the judges had it split. And I think Usman would have won, obviously, because he won the last round.
Yeah,
so even if he won decision, he would have won. He should have won, but it was a very competitive fight. Anyways, we'll talk about that fight in a few weeks. I'm looking forward to it.
I think the judges had 3-1 Usman, 3-1 Colby, and 2-2.
It was going to be a split decision for Usman. All right, so some other fights that were announced. I'll just pull yours. I'll pull up your screen here quickly.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to do obviously the preview, guys, but just there's people coming in still, so I'll just wait a few minutes. John says Bruno Silva violence coming. We'll talk about Bruno today. And David Dean, hey David, he says, will Joanna accept a non-title fight this stage of her career? Did you guys just? I got to show you my post, guys. I mean, let me see what the. 1 second, you got to see this because I just saw this thing. Did you see the rankings, Marcel? Did you see the rankings?
Yeah, I saw that. That annoyed me. Yeah.
Okay, so I got to show you this, man. This is pretty wild here. You guys are gonna laugh when you see this. All right, let's go to this. Share the screen. Look at this. I mean, come on. Like, this doesn't make sense. So Joanna actually moved up 1 spot in the pound-for-pound rankings. This makes no sense at all. Explain this to me.
It's just stupid.
It's just garbage. These rankings are just. This is another reason why I don't take them seriously, guys. Like, again, I respect guys like Brian that do a decent job with them, but most people don't care enough. What?
Listen, Esparza and Rodriguez should be ranked above Joanna at this point. Joanna doesn't fight. So
this is so dumb. She should have been taken out of the rankings. She's been so inactive. Like, they took out Raquel Pennington. They took out. She just got back in them, but she was out of them for a while, Marcel.
And she's even inactive on purpose because all these girls have said we got a fight offered against Joanna, and she just doesn't want to fight him. She just want to fight for the title. You know what I mean?
So, like, I
So
respect Joanna. I think we all do. It's just that
yeah, me
she hasn't fought
too.
forever.
But
So,
come on.
yeah, I know. She hasn't fought forever. Okay, so I just wanted to bring that up. We're going to do the breakdown in a second. I just want to do one other thing here because Marcel broke a few fights yesterday. I don't know if you broke this fight, but this is a good fight
No.
too. Jeremiah Wells and Jake Matthews. There's this fight Marcel broke. I think it was this one, right, Marcel? This is the one?
Yeah.
Marcel broke this fight, guys. Hakeem Dewado versus Mike Trezano at UFC Fight Night, February 5th. Yeah, I mean, it's a fun fight. Hakeem is obviously a Canadian guy, so I'm very well aware of his abilities. But, I mean, Mike Trezano's coming off a good win over Ludovic Klein we'll talk about today. Good fight, Marcel. Good too. You guys would probably want to stand in bang. Should be a fun fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great fight.
Nice job breaking that. And then again, guys, there's some other fights here. This was announced today. That's not a good one. Sorry, this one. Jeff Neal and Santiago Ponzinibbio. Great fights. This takes place at UFC 269 3-round fight. That card's stacked. They've really stacked that card. They're stacking the pay-per-views, but some of the fight nights look very thin, you know? And then obviously we talked about this already. And then the other thing I was mentioning is this. Sam Alvey got another fight, guys, and I got to be honest with you. I mean, he's a good guy, Sam Alvey, and I think that's the reason he's getting another fight because the UFC likes him. I mean, you look at his record; it's 0-6-1 in his last 7 fights. Marcel, I saw Patrick Cote come out today. Patrick was not happy about it. Because he was cut multiple times by the UFC for losing like 1-2 fights. I looked at his record, Patrick Cote. He had 5 stints in the UFC, 5 stints between fights. That's crazy, Marcel. So he lost to Tito. They cut him. They brought him back. He lost to Chris Lee. They cut him. They brought him back. He lost to Tom Lawler with the pile driver. Remember that fight? Then they brought him back again. So, yeah, I mean, he's not happy about it. But, yeah, to me, it's Dana White playing favorites. But it is what it is, guys. He made it clear he's going to get another fight anyways after the Turman fight, which was kind of controversial anyways. And then Heinisch also has been struggling. I think he's lost 5 of 6, Marcel, or something, or maybe 4 or 5. Let me double check that. But this is a pretty fair fight, I think, at this point in their career. I just want to highlight this one. And, yeah, Heinisch has lost 4 of his last 5. All right, let me close that, and we're back here. Let me get these comments, and we're going to start the preview here. David doesn't think Yuan's going to fight for a while. I don't think so either, but it'd be nicer to fight, Marina would be the perfect fight, but even the loser of Zhang and Rose, although she wants the winner, she won't get the winner. She's not getting a title shot. Is there any replacement for Rockhold yet? Nothing yet. Brendan Allen wants to fight. He's not getting it, guys. He fought him last year and got knocked out. Bilal Muhammad wants to fight. I don't think he's going to get it either, different weight class. So I think you look at the rankings, you look at a guy like Kelvin Gastelum, who stepped in on short notice very often. He does need to pick up a win. Maybe he wouldn't want to risk that loss. Maybe there's some other guys like Jack Hermanson would be a good fight. He's obviously coming off a win. That would probably be the ideal fight, but I don't know if Jack would take that fight in short notice. I think that they should just take Strickland off the card and give him his own fight night or something. Marcel, like I just don't see the point of having on that undercard now with Rockhold off the card because that was the draw, right? So Gilbert Burns also, like Tristan said as well. So Jamie said, great to see Pons back. I know he's an awesome fighter, man. And then against Jeff Neal, another guy who I love. Jose's asking about Magny and Bilal. I'm not sure. I mean, Bilal's calling out Strickland, so I don't know what happened to Magny because Magny and Burns were talking some smack too. I mean, maybe they'll do that fight. Yeah. And David says Danny Glows with help with Sam. He's a decent guy, man. I mean, after his last fight, I mean, he took to his Instagram and he was like talking about some soldier that passed away in Afghanistan. Like he wasn't even talking about his fight. He was like, "That's not a big deal for me." He's like, "I'm talking about the guys." That was like a month ago. Whenever remember that whole situation, right? So Sam's a good person, man, and he's got like 5 kids, guys. So let's have a heart here. You know what I mean, Marcel? Like if he gets cut, where's he going to make this kind of money? Nowhere else. So let's have a heart here a little bit.
Adam, the thing that kind of, I understand that certain fighters who are younger, I want to get in the UFC and see a guy who's 0-6-1 and getting another fight. That's kind of discouraging, to see that, But on the other hand, I really hate it when fighters go to other fighters saying like, why is he still in the UFC? He shouldn't be here. Like, it's kind of like, it kind of feels dirty. You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, Marcel. It's a dog-eat-dog business, though. I mean, if he's on the roster, another guy wants a spot. So it's a tough business, guys. Jamie says, I bet Colby will beat Usman now that they have to do a trilogy because of the cosmic forces keeping Leon from a title fight. All right, let's get into this breakdown for UFC Vegas 40, Marcel. Again, guys, I used the bout order from UFCstats.com. That is the official bout order for these cards. All right, so let's start with the first fight on the card, Marcel. Estella Nunes against Ariane Carlosi, women's 115. Right now, we have Ariane Carlosi minus 155, plus 135 for Estella Nunes. Give your thoughts on the opening fight of the card.
Yeah, man, Estella Nunes coming from one championship who haven't fought in over 3 years because she got a USADA suspension. Was supposed to debut against Angela Hill. Then she got booked against Ginger Frey. Didn't happen, and now she's fighting Carlosi. Thing is, in one championship, she looked pretty good, man. She has one loss in the one championship, and that's against the current champion, Angela Lee. She got good wins there over Maya Yamaguchi and Gina Inyang. But thing is, man, she hasn't fought for 3 years, So I'm really curious how she's looking. If you look at Ariane Carlosi, coming off that Nali Young fight, which was an amazing fight, man. I remember that. It was the first one of the night. Was a crazy one. She won in the second round. Lots of how do you say that? Lots of scrambles in the first round.
Yeah.
Was a fun one. She lost to Angela Hill before that. Yeah, I don't want to be disrespectful, kind of a low tire fight in my opinion, this division so far. Listen, man, I got to go with Carlosi. She's been active, and I don't know too much about this. Maybe Estella Nunes looks amazing,
Yeah.
We don't. I just don't know, and I just don't know, Sounds really weird, but you know what I mean.
Fair enough. And how do you think she'll win?
I'm going with a decision win for Carlosi, man. I think she outpowers her probably.
All right, so I honestly didn't know anything about Nunes really before I watched tape. I want to show you guys this. Have you seen this highlight, Marcel? Watch this one, guys. It's a fun one. Watch this one. So watch this. 1, 2, 3. Oh, yeah. Triple head kick. I mean, I haven't really seen that before. Just spamming head kicks and knocks the girl out. So this girl's got power. She's a Muay Thai fighter, as you can tell from that video. And, I mean, she's a good striker. If she can keep this fight in the feet, she'll probably win the fight. But I don't think she'll keep it standing, Marcel. From what I've seen, she can be taken down. In her fights in one championship, she was taken down in those fights. She is good at scrambling, though, like you said, Marcel, and reversing position. So maybe she could scramble. But the thing is, Carlosi is extremely physically strong. Like, she's a little tank. And, she proved in that fight in the last one that she can take a punch too, man. And, she came back in that second round, ground and pounded the girl out. The Angela Hill fight was not a great performance by her, but, that was a tough debut on short notice. And, she suffered a cut to lose. It wasn't like she got finished by punches or something. And honestly, I mean, you look at what she did before in Brazil, she was pretty much dominating everyone she fought, including Gloria DePaul, who she fought and took her down at will. Obviously, that girl doesn't have great takedown defense, as we know now, but I just think she's going to be able to get down Nunes. But again, Nunes, like you said, Marcel, 3-year layoff, so maybe she's been improving. But for me, a fighter coming off of steroid suspension after 3 years, I will look to probably play against that. So I like Carlosi in this fight, guys. I think she gets Nunes down, grinds her out, probably wins the decision, although I do think ground and pound finish is possible. But I like her in this fight, Marcel. I think she wins, even though, again, Nunes is a fun fight. I just think Carlosi's kind of a bad matchup for her. By the way, David's asking, you were saying that Holland would have fought Strickland. Yeah, I think so. It's too bad that fight didn't because of Big Dan Murgliota. No, I'm just kidding. It would have been no contest either way. But yeah, we have to see that rematch, and then maybe they'll just that fight's next month. Maybe they'll tell Sean to wait till next year and they book the Holland fight. That makes sense too. Go to the next fight in the card, Marcel. Brandon Davis makes his return to the UFC against Dinat Bagdaril, and this fight's interesting too. -185 for Bagdaril, +160 Brandon Davis. Give me your thoughts on this fight.
Yeah, so let's start with Brandon Davis. Yeah, he was in the UFC before, right? He came from the Dana White Contender Series. He had some good performances in the UFC, but also kind of questionables. I think his performance over Randy Costa is probably his best performance in the UFC. He got a finish there. Remember that split decision loss against Giga Chikatsu, where they first announced a draw on the broadcast, and then later it was a split decision loss. After that, he went on a 4-fight win streak at Gulf Coast MMA. He became a champion there. Got called back to the UFC, now fighting Dana Bacharel. I really like Bacharel, man. I told you last time out, man. I remember his debut against Amateng Haley. A very close fight, unanimous decision loss for the fight of the night. After that, looked amazing against Kennedy, and he looked even better against Kevin Natividad. Both knocked both out. I think Davis is probably a better fighter than his last two fights, his last two wins. But I really like Bacharel, man. I think he's a very good fighter, and I have the feeling that he's only becoming better, although he's already 32. But 32 isn't old, man. I'm 32 myself, so I'm not going to say that's old. I mean, I think Bacharel wins the fight. Will he stop him? I don't know, man. Brandon Davis is pretty tough, so I'm going with the decision win for Bacharel here.
Do you know what Brandon Davis does for a full-time job during the day?
No.
Works for UPS. I saw it on his Instagram. So he's still working a second job, guys. So he's a mailman like you, basically.
It's actually a colleague. I'm picking against my colleague.
He's basically a mailman, too. I was going to say, basically. I mean, listen, like he's looked good for sure in his 4 fights away. They're on YouTube. I would recommend watching
Yeah.
just to get a feel. I mean, he looked good, but the thing is, he fought some scrubs guys. Like these guys were terrible. Josh Huber, a guy who's like an old veteran. Ray Trujillo got the losing record, and even this Brad Kelly guy was a split decision. He did look good against the Elin guy though. I will say that he looked good in the Huber fight. He looked really good. It's only a minute long. He kicks him in the body and knocks him out. It's a nice finish, but I don't know if these wins really convince me that he's like going to beat a guy Badger. Like, there's a reason this guy was cut. He couldn't hang the first time. He went 2-5. Don't get me wrong. He's a decent fighter, and stylistically, it's not a terrible matchup for Brandon Davis because, Badger did show some holes in the takedown defense against Haile Alatang, and I think Davis, if he works takedowns, could make this a gritty fight. But I think if it stays on the feet, I think Badger's the better striker. And, even though Davis is a good striker, I just think Badger does have more power, man. And, people are they're looking at this Guido Canetti fight win, and they're like, knocked out Guido Canetti, who cares? Well, that's the only time Guido's ever been knocked out. Manny Martinez didn't knock him out. And that everyone talks about his power. So I actually think that win looks a little better now, Marcel, in hindsight. And the Kevin Nativity, that guy obviously doesn't have a chin, so I'm not going to say much about that. But even in the Alatang fight, I mean, he put up a good volume of striking that and got tired late. But, the guy's training at Jackson Winklejohn. I think he wins the fight, Marcel, too. I'm with you on this one, man. I like Davis. He's decent. And the thing is, like, the odds for me, like, I think they should be a little tighter. I will say that. Probably about minus 150, minus 185 or whatever. But I don't want to get swayed by plus money just because of that. I think that Badger is going to win the fight. I think he's the better striker. I think he's the fight standing and wins the fight. And obviously, he had a full camp. I think Davis had a fight lined up, I want to say, but I'm not 100% sure. I mean, like I said, the guy couldn't hang he went 2-5 the first time, guys. Like, that's not really a guy you want to bet on, I don't think. Marcel, like, he's very inconsistent. Having said that, again, he has looked good in his last couple of fights, so maybe he could surprise us. John just said, Strickland has put out a fun Instagram video responding to Bilal. Sounds like Sean wants to wait. That's what I thought. He wants to wait until January. They're just going to move him. Hey, Theodore, what's up, man? What do you guys think of open scoring? So I saw that they're going to do that in Colorado. I'm not sure if it's for I think they can use it. They don't have to, but I think they have the option now. Same with Kansas. I'm not a huge fan of it. Personally, I think it does take away some of the drama and the intrigue. I get it. There's that point of, well, every other sport, most sports anyway, not boxing, obviously, too, but the score is, right? I get it. But for me, it's like that does take away some of the intrigue. I think when you're waiting for those cards to be right, it's always intriguing. And also, again, we talked about that Tim Elliott fight the other day. He thought he was up 2 rounds, guys. You saw him coast in that 3rd round. I think you'll see that more. So I personally don't think we need it in the sport. I think the sport's great right now. I don't know why we need to change this, but give me your thoughts, Marcel.
I mean, I don't know how it helps, to be really honest, man, because, there's also open score. I don't know, man. I mean, I don't see anything. You saw, I think Invicta did it, right?
Yeah, they
did. It didn't help anything because I remember, like, the main event or co-main event last time, not last time, but the card before that one. That should have been a win for the Brazilian girl, I think, and the other girl got it. So, I mean, I don't know how that is better or anything. Also, like, I don't know who said that. There was a journalist as well. Like, we need 5 judges instead of 3. Why? You need how do you say that? Good judges, judges, competent judges. Yeah, you see with Glory all the time, man. Glory has 5 judges. You got 4 judges who has the other fighter, and 1 judge who got the other. You got a split decision. You got like multiple split decisions, even more. It's just stupid, You
saw a majority. That wouldn't be considered majority though if it was 4.
No, just split. They say that's split. Yeah.
Yeah, I do think there's something to having 5 judges because you would get 2 extra set of eyes on it, and if it's a bad decision, then hopefully 2 other people wouldn't see it that way, right? But they won't do that, guys. Really, what we need is better judging. But anyways, let's get back to the card here. So Ludovic Klein takes. Sorry, what did you say?
We need the judges who held themselves on the criteria of scoring. That's most important.
Yeah, I think a lot of people just assume they know how to score fights. Again, I would definitely recommend going through the unified rules. When I first became a fan of the sport, Marcel, I went through those rules so many times. I wanted to know every single thing. And even as someone who like lives and breathes the sport, I still go and brush up on the rules, guys. Like, it's a good thing to do that, All right, let's talk about this next fight. Ludovic Klein against Nate Landwehr. Pardon, Marcel?
One more thing.
Yeah,
Can I give
sure.
an example?
Yep.
We had an event in the Netherlands over here on Sunday, an MMA event, and the first round was fighter A who won, and in the second round, fighter A was in a dominating position, and he was landing strikes from out of the guard, And then the referee, I don't know, stand him up. The other fighter eye pokes him, not on purpose, but so they get the time. And then the other fighter takes over and wins the round. So he was, and it was 1-1. Going into the third round, again, that fighter A had an advantage in positioning. Again, he breaks them up, and again, the other fighter takes over, wins the fight 29-28. I mean, those things are really bad, but definitely Netherlands is bad because we are here like a kickboxing kind of people, and they want to see stand-up. They don't want to see the ground game. But it's MMA, and that's what I mean. Officiating and officials should be competent, should know what they are doing, because they're robbing people from their from their wins, basically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you ruin guys' careers. You ruin they don't get half their paycheck. All right, let's go on. And Theodore said it might be exciting for the fans of the venue. I think it'd be more exciting. I think it'd be less exciting, if anything, if you knew what the scores were. I don't know. Maybe that's just my opinion. I don't know. I get what you're saying. Like, if a guy knows he's down, maybe he. But I think if you know you're down, you're going to know you're down. You know what I mean? Like, anyways, let's talk about the fights. Ludovic Klein against Nate Landwehr. I am looking forward to this fight. Klein right now, big favorite, minus 320, plus 260 for Nate Landwehr. I'll just start off, Marcel. I am with Tristan. He says Klein's a good bet. I like Klein too, Marcel. I really like him in this fight. I really, really like him in this fight. And I think minus 300, minus 320, you get him around that. That's a good parlay piece for this week, guys. This guy should win the fight all day, and he's just a way better striker. And he's a way better grappler too. You saw against Mike Trezon, very smart fighter, Marcel. I think he should have won that decision. And again, he was smart. It was a close fight with the striking, and then he goes, shoots these takedowns late, tries to get the points on the scorecard. That's a smart fighter. Even though it didn't get him the decision, it was smart. Whereas Nate Landwehr is kind of a dumb fighter. I mean, the guy walks forward with his hands down, literally has his hands at his waist. And he's been knocked out 2 of his 3 fights in the UFC. Probably should have lost to Darren Elkins if that cut didn't happen. This is a guy that, honestly, Marcel, has not impressed me in the UFC at all. Great opportunity to bet against him here. I think Klein knocks him out probably, if not wins the decision. But I love Ludovic Klein in this fight, Marcel.
There's literally no logical explanation why you should pick Landwehr over Klein. There is not. You know what I mean? He lost to Rosa by knockout. He lost to Burns by knockout. And the Elkins fight, like you said, man, I scored at 29-28 for Elkins, And many people were pissed about that on Twitter back then. It's like, no, you can't score a fight. It's like, listen, guys, Elkins always gets cut in every fight, and it looks like he got destroyed in that fight because of that cut. But that's not true. He was actually winning 2 of the 3 rounds, but pretty much nobody picked it up. I'm glad you did. I mean, Klein looked good in the UFC, did amazing against Shane Young in his debut, and against Trezano, very close fight. He lost unanimous decision, but he could have won that one as well. So, I mean, it's kind of to be really honest, it's kind of a weird matchmaking to me. You know what I mean? But yeah, definitely picking Ludovic Klein here. Does
he get the head kick again? Do you think he knocks him with the head kick?
Oh, I mean, why not? Landwehr comes forward, he has his chin up. I mean, Landwehr was really good in M1, man. I really liked him there, but he hasn't been good in the UFC so far, in my opinion. He's been good on the mic, but not in the cage. But yeah, I mean,
yeah, don't bet on this guy. Don't bet on him, guys. Don't even be tempted by the plus money. He's just not a guy you want to bet on, really, with the chin issues and with just Marcel. It's a striking defense. He literally keeps his hands at his waist and walks forward. If he does that, he'll probably get kicked in the head and knocked out. I know Klein's not the tallest guy for this division by any means, but I think he's going to catch this guy. All right, let's go to the next fight here. Sajar Eubanks against Luana Carolina in the women's flyweight division. And no surprise here either, Marcel. Eubanks minus 325, plus 265 for Carolina. Your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, man. Luana Carolina kind of looks like Jada Pinkett after she cut her dreads off. Yeah, Luana Carolina also came to UFC for the Contender Series, the Brazilian Contender Series. Won against Cachoeira in her debut. That nasty knee bar, remember, against Ariane Lipski, where she screamed very hard. And then the Poliana split decision, which you had called here. You called that she was going to win that, and I was on Poliana. Eubanks. Listen, man, I think Eubanks, as long as she keeps fighting at 125, she can make weight. She can be a threat in that division. She's strong. She has a pretty solid wrestling game, I think. At bantamweight, I mean, I think she isn't special at bantamweight to do anything there. I think at flyweight she's probably better, and I pretty much expect her to get Luana to the ground and probably trying to stop her there. So it would be either ground and pound Eubanks or a decision for Eubanks here. if Carolina can keep it standing, she has a chance. But I'm going with you.
Yeah, no, I think Carolina is kind of underrated. I think people don't realize that she is a decent fighter. And I honestly, Marcel, I only realized that once I was in Brazil. I saw her fight Cachoeira, and Lucas, your boy, he was managed. I don't know if he's still a manager, but he was, and he was like, "You should watch for Carolina tonight. She's going to put on a good fight." It was a great fight. He also told me Johnny Walker is going to win the UFC light heavyweight title. That didn't happen, but I think a lot of us thought that would happen. Anyways, let's talk about this fight. So I think it's competitive, but I mean, Eubanks with that wrestling man in that last fight looks so dominant in this division. And, Carolina's a big flyweight too. She missed weight in her last fight, Marcel, worth mentioning that. But I think it was short notice. I can't remember. But, yeah, she's coming in on this one. And I think they'll both make weight, hopefully. And just based on Eubanks' last fight, I have to go with her, because that ground game's so dominant. But Carolina, if she keeps it standing, will make it interesting. But I think she'll probably get it down into the ground. Eubanks and grinds her like, Julia Villa is a better striker probably, and she took her down. Marcel and Julia Villa is probably a better fighter, bigger fighter too. Took her down. So I think Sajar at this weight can be pretty dominant, to be honest with you. Let's get these comments. Doug, hey, what's up, man? He says Elkins gets cut like a Diaz. Sure does, bud. Sajar is always tough fight. She is, and she's a big favorite here for a reason. She has that wrestling. Eubanks with a very rare finish last time out fight. Go distance prop looks good for parlay. Yeah, I think you could even consider just, Eubanks. I think she'll be very popular. She's minus 325. I think that line's going to keep going up. I'd say with Klein, I think both those guys' lines will go up a little bit, but they both should win. All right, now here's another fight with a kind of a big favorite, Marcel, I guess you could say, like decent sized favorite here. We got Ramazan Ameev against Danny Roberts, and Ramazan is a decent sized favorite, Marcel, minus 255, plus 215 for Danny Hot Chocolate Roberts. Marcel, I'll start this one off too. I mean, just like the other fight with Landwehr and Klein, like I don't see a reason to pick Danny Roberts in this fight. Ramazan Ameev is he's kind of boring, let's be honest, but he's effective at what he does, Marcel. He's very good at pinning guys against the fence, getting to the ground, holding them there, and he doesn't get hit. You look at his strikes absorbed; it's under 2. Whereas Danny Roberts gets hit a lot in this fight. Danny's got more power, I'll say that. Definitely, he's got more knockout power, more explosive, but gets dominated with the grappling a lot of his fights. 53% takedown defense, just not good enough, Marcel. Just like the other fight with Landwehr and Klein, I like Ameev a lot in this fight. I think he's another guy you could parlay, Marcel. And I like Roberts as a fighter. He's an exciting guy, but I think it's a really bad matchup for him personally. What do you think?
Yeah, man. Ramos had the Dagestani decision. Ameev. I mean, we all know what he's going to do. He's going to probably win by decision. And it won't be very entertaining.
Yep.
That's just how he fights, I mean, some fighters just aren't really entertaining to watch, but they get it done 9 out of 10 times, And the thing is, if Danny Roberts doesn't get like a crazy knockout out of there, he probably will lose. So I'm going with Ameev, a decision. It's the most safe pick, and probably if this fight happens 4 times, Ameev will win the fight by decision. So I'm picking Ameev.
I agree. I'll be honest with you guys. Like, I feel like this is a guy that he could be released eventually because I don't think his style is what the UFC is looking for. I'll be honest with you, Marcel.
A little bit Theodorou-esque.
Like that, or Rustam Kabalov was another guy I think they released. Yeah. He had a grinding style, but Elias is a very similar fighter. That's a great comparison. He wants to pin you against the fence, take you down, just hold you there. He doesn't really throw a lot of offense, but honestly, that's a guy that I kind of want to bet on, though. Marcel, like he's a good bet. Yeah, he's just boring to watch. I mean, he's a nice prospect. I don't even know if he's a prospect anymore. He's 30. Isn't he like 34? I want to say
he's 34. Yeah.
Yeah, he's older than me, guys. He's not a prospect. Sorry, but he's not anymore. Anyways, he's a decent fighter, though. He should win the fight against Danny Roberts. Marcel, exciting guy. Nice win the last time out, but I just don't believe in him, Marcel. I mean, his record in UFC, by the way, I think is sub 500. No, that's close. It's 6-4, so it's not very good. He loses a lot. Also, his chin's not very good. If Ramazan's going to finish anyone, it would actually be this guy, wouldn't it, Marcel? This would be the guy who finishes.
It's possible, yeah.
Look, even Glenn just said it. He said in the chat, he said maybe ME can finish him. Maybe with grounded pound, like Mike Perry did. Or Mike Perry with a knee, I think, and they pounded him out. It was a brutal fight. I was watching that the other day. But I think he could get knocked out again. I love, that fight was amazing. Also, the fight with Claudio Silva was a really good fight. Watch that. It's a very fun fight, but again, Marcel, Claudio Silva was like 40 years old and took him down at will. All right, let's go to the next fighter.
Do you remember Claudio Silva said he tapped, and the ref was like, yeah, he tapped. And the ref was just like, I didn't tap.
Yeah, I know. But you know what? He probably would have, I think, was it armbar? Yeah. Anyways, great fight. Andrew Sanchez against Bruno Silva is the next one here in middleweight division, Marcel. And interesting fight. And this one of the tightest odds of the card for this one. Minus 150 for Bruno Silva, plus 130 Andrew Sanchez. Give me your thoughts on this fight.
Man, this is a difficult one, man. To be really honest, Andrews. This, by the way, got kicked out of the main card. This was the main card opener at first, and now it's a prelim headliner. Really weird. Andrew Sanchez, the Ultimate Fighter winner. We all know, and he has like ups and downs in the UFC. Sometimes he looks really good, and sometimes this is not good at all. I remember the Wellington Turman knockout where he knocked out Wellington Turman. I didn't expect him to knock him out, to be really honest, but he did. Good win over Mark. That Marc-André Barrio actual win looks actually pretty good now. After the recent win for Barrio has put together. The Muradov fight last time, I expected Muradov to win that fight against Andrew Sanchez, so wasn't too surprised with that. Bruno Silva, I've been high on the guy since he was at M1, where he fought Slamenko, knocked out Slamenko in the first round, then won the title against Frolov, also by knockout. Then he got also in a USADA suspension in the UFC for 2 years. Came back against Wellington Turman, knocked him out first round. But had trouble, I think, in the first round. I can't remember.
Yeah, so he got taken down, and then Wellington took his back, and he slipped off, and then Bruno got in top position and pounded his face in the ground, basically.
Exactly. So this is kind of a tricky thing, because if Sanchez gets his back, I don't think Sanchez will let him go like Wellington did. So my gut feeling says Bruno Silva will probably knock out Andrew Sanchez. But Andrew Sanchez has definitely ways to win this fight. He's a better grappler, I think, than Wellington Turman. That's my opinion. I don't know if you share that opinion. Mm-hmm. But I'm going with Bruno Silva by KO in the second round, but I wouldn't be surprised if Sanchez wins this. This is a close fight to me.
Yeah, I should recommend James, my boy James Lynch, interviewed Andrew, and he went to AKA, so it's something interesting. He was training in Canada and TriStar for years. Andrew Sanchez, he's a former Ultimate Fighter winner, Marcel, and he's kind of had like a decent career, but not great. 5-4 in the UFC. He's had some decent wins. Like that Barrio win looks pretty good right now. Even Turman looks good by knockout, and then Roundtree, obviously. So he's had some good wins, but again, the problem with this guy is, especially in the third round, Marcel, 3 knockout losses in the third round. It's in the story of his career, just gasses out a little bit. Interesting fight. I mean, here's the thing. Like Bruno, I liked him in the Wellington Turman fight. Even knowing Wellington could take him down, I still figured Wellington doesn't have a really good chin at all. Like, and he could get KO'd. And I figured Bruno, if he gets top position, but that's the thing. He has to get top position. Almost all his knockouts are by ground and pound. It's not by standing knockout, really. He did knock out Alexander Slamenko standing, but it was an old version of Alexander Slamenko, Marcel. It wasn't like the old good Slamenko. Like it's a decent win. But not great. Go ahead.
We got to be honest. That was both not under USADA rules.
Yeah, this guy has not looked. I mean, physically he looks fine, but you have to mention he was gone for 2 years, 3 years because of USADA. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the guy's had some good performances for sure. And again, he gets on top of you, you're fucked. I mean, let's be honest. Like he has really heavy ground and pound, some of the heaviest in the division, but. I look at this fight with this guy, Moise Rimbon, who is like an old fighter. Have you seen that fight, Marcel? He's super old. He's a Dutch French guy. Yeah. 44 years old. He used to fight in Too Hot to Handle. He fought over in there, 2002.
Yeah.
Anyways, that fight was it was 5 years ago, but, the guy was taken down at will by a guy who was 39 years old at that point. Andrew Sanchez is a significantly better wrestler. Actually, he's the best wrestler this guy's probably ever fought. Andrew Sanchez's chin is super sketch, but I think he can take this guy down, man. Honestly, like I've seen his fights, he gets taken down, and I'm going with Andrew Sanchez by decision, Marcel. I'll go for an upset here in this one. I think Blundado is good, and obviously he can knock him out. That seems like what a lot of people think, but if he doesn't, Marcel, he's going to get grinded out. And honestly, I think that Sanchez is going to be smart in this fight, and I don't think he's going to strike. He's just going to go for wrestling and hold him against the fence, take him down, and make it boring but effective, and probably win decision. So I like Andrew Sanchez. All right, main card time, guys. We got a fun main card here. 5 fights, Marcel. Let's start in the middleweight division. Once again, we have Julian Marquez against Jordan Wright. Fun fight here. Marquez minus 235, and plus 195 for Jordan Wright. Give me your thoughts.
Yeah, the Cuban Missile Crisis against the Beverly Hills Ninja. So Julian Marquez, I like him a lot, man. I think he's a good fighter. Coming from the Glory MMA. He's from Glory MMA and Fitness, right? with James Cross. Yeah.
Yep.
I think he's a good fighter, man. He did it for over 2.5 years when he came back against Maki Pitolo, was losing, and then out of nowhere got an anaconda choke and won via submission in the third round. Then he stopped Alvey with a rear naked choke in the second round. I mean, can we really put any weight on Alvey at this moment? A win over Alvey? I don't really know. If you look at Jordan Wright, I remember in the Contender series, man, he got knocked out by Anthony Hernandez early in the fight. Got overturned in no contest. Then he got a good win against Gabriel Checo in the LFA.
Great win.
Got signed.
Yeah, it was impressive. It was pretty impressive. Yeah.
Indeed. He got signed by the UFC. Won against Ike Villanueva on short notice, then lost to Buckley. And I think in round one he didn't do bad. And then against Pickett, he overwhelmed Pickett pretty much, And also, shout out to one of his coaches, Anthony Hardonk, the former Dutch fighter, also Vladimir Matyushenko, one of his coaches at Dynamics. Yeah, man, the thing is, Jordan Wright, he can get it done early, but at the long term, I would pick Julian Marquez here, man. I think Marquez has more upside to win here. I'm taking Marquez via submission probably in the second or third round, man.
Yeah, and let me just get these comments here. Jose said, I think Ramzan's booked at Randy. UFC not giving rank guys because he's boring, not dry. I agree with that. That's true. Boring again. Hey, man, he says Alvey wasn't far removed from drawing with Jung. Yeah, and Alvey probably should have beat Jung. I think that's probably why he's getting these fights in the UFC still. I don't think he beat Span. I think he even said that he probably lost that fight 29-28. But the third round was super sketch. As someone who had Span in the parlay that day, he got rocked with like 10 seconds. I thought that was so scary. I was shitting my pants. Oh, man, the odds were not good for that one. Anyways, Marquez and Wright. It's an interesting fight. Marcel, it's an interesting fight. I do think there's some upset potential here, guys, with Jordan Wright. He's an underrated guy, I think. I think people are underrating him a little bit. Like, the odds are a little too high, I think, for Marquez here, Marcel, in my opinion. Marquez is good. Don't get me wrong. The thing that I like about Julian, he seems to have a really good chin. Like, it seems like it's going to be hard to, like, kind of get him out of there. Marcel, like, both his losses by decision. And he's got well-rounded game, right? Really good submissions, like, really good. Probably some of the better submissions in this division, I would say. Nasty on the ground, but again, he can be taken down. This takedown defense stinks. And Wright's wrestling is not bad. Against that Pacheco guy, Marcel took him down, and then later on, obviously knocked him with that. I think it was like a knee, right? So he, he's an interesting guy. I mean, he beat Villanueva, overwhelmed him. He beat Pickett, overwhelmed him. So, it's possible Marquez could get overwhelmed early because Sam Alvey did hurt him a little bit in the field in that fight too, Marcel. I think I have to pick Marquez because to me he seems like the more tougher guy, and I think that Wright. That durability, I definitely question because he has been knocked out twice. I count the Anthony Hernandez fight as a knockout. He tested positive for weed, guys. That's a knockout loss. Same with the Buckley fight, obviously. So to me, Marcel, like the chin sketches me out, but I think this guy's not a bad fighter, honestly. Like, and he's well rounded too. Like, people just talk about his striking, but he actually can take you to the ground too. And I think it's crazy as it sounds because Marquez has those subs. It might not be a bad decision to take this guy to the ground, Marquez to the ground if he could. Because Wright does have pretty good top control. So I think he's a live dog here, but I still got to go with Marquez, Marcel. I got to go with him. I will say this, though. I don't think this fight goes the distance. I think this fight ends inside the distance. Yeah, and that's minus 300. So I'm not a genius saying that. I'm just checking right now. But I think it's probably going to inside the distance. And I agree with Boring. He says Wright hasn't looked good when he stepped up the competition. I agree with that. I agree. But again, I did bet on, I think, Marquez against – actually, I bet him against Alvey, and that was fine. But the Patolo fight, I passed on him because of the layup. But people that did bet him were so scared that day because he was so rusty in that fight, Marcel. But I think he did shake off some rust in that fight. So I'm kind of banking on him getting better. And again, he's training with James Krause, and those guys are hot right now for the most part. Hopefully, he doesn't tell him he's up 2-0 when he's down or when it's tied or something.
That's a cheap shot, Adam.
I had to say it. All right, let's go to the next fight. This is a fun one, guys. Manon Fiorot against Mayra Bueno Silva. And I'm pretty sure we talked about this fight like last month, I want to say. Yeah. Was it 266, I think it was supposed to take place? I can't remember anymore. But anyways, or maybe the card before that. Minus 220 for Manon Fiorot, plus 180 for Bueno Silva. My breakdown hasn't changed. I mean, yes, someone in Manon Fiorot's camp got COVID. That wouldn't change my breakdown of the fight. Although I do think Bueno Silva is a decent fighter, and I think you had some good things to say over the last time, Marcel, as well. To me, Manon Fiorot, I think the hype is real on her. I think she is legitimately that good, and this girl is so dangerous. And what I like about her, Marcel, he's not just winning fights; she's destroying everyone. Like, she goes in there and finishes you. And I think the level of competition so far hasn't been great. I do think this is a step up for her, but I think it's a step she passes. I think it's a a fight she wins. And honestly, I wouldn't mind if she used her wrestling in this fight because Bueno Silva's big weakness is her wrestling. So I'd like to see her maybe using wrestling here. I've been impressed with this girl, and I think she wins this fight against Silva. So give me your thoughts on this one, Marcel. Has it changed at all or no?
No, still the same, man. I feel like as long as Manon can keep this one standing, she's in the advantage.
Well, Bueno Silva has good stand-up, though. She's a Muay Thai fighter, right, for the most part. She does have good subs, too. She's dangerous, but you're right. I mean,
I think she's okay on the ground, but her standing is not. I don't think she's standing. You can compare to Fiorot.
No, I agree with that. You're right. Yeah, I think you're right. Anyways, we broke down this fight. We broke it down already.
Yeah, and honestly, man, Fiorot, she has one loss on her record. I still think she won that fight. So
I think so too. Was it Liam McCord, right? That was the fight. Yeah. You could. I saw on YouTube. I think I watched it and I thought she won. Glenn says, for me, Fiorot's getting more hype than her record deserves. No wins against anyone noteworthy. Glenn, you're not wrong. I don't think, but honestly, she's only minus 220. It's not like she's minus 500. So to me, it's not that much hype. It's some hype. I think a lot of hype's coming from the fans, not necessarily the market though. Because you look at the odds, it's somewhat competitive, guys. It's minus 220. Minus 220 is not a huge favorite.
It's also the way.
Favorite. Pardon?
It's also the way you fight.
Yeah, she's just destroying people, right? That's the thing. It reminds me of there's a lot of fighters that come to the UFC and just knock people out. When you finish people, you get noticed. Like Casey O'Neill, for instance, in that division as well. Young girl, she's getting finishes. That's why she's getting noticed. All right, let's go to this fight. Jim Miller against Eric, the Ghost Pepper Gonzalez, Marcel. Kind of a weird match, I'll be honest with you. I was kind of surprised they booked this fight, and I'm not really sure. Why didn't Nicholas Mata get the fight again? Because he was supposed to fight Miller. You have any idea about that?
No idea.
Okay, so we have right now Jim Miller minus 210, plus 175 to the Ghost Pepper. Give me your thoughts on this one.
Yeah, so I'm not going to make the same mistake I made last time. For me, it's like Jim Miller is good in one round, and it's the first round. After that, it's pretty much downhill for him, what I saw in his last fights. Gotta say that maybe Selecki and Pichel may be better fighters than Gonzalez. Don't know for sure, man. I saw Gonzalez fight many times in Combate. He's a fun fighter, in my opinion, to watch. Didn't get a title over there. He lost the Copa Combate final against Humberto Bandenay. That was in 2019, and Bandenay never really could do it in the UFC. So a 2-fight win streak at this moment. I think he's a pretty decent fighter, man, Gonzalez. The thing is, he's been submitted in his career before, and Jim Miller can submit him in the first round. I mean, Jim Miller can do that, Am I going for that one? No, because last time and the time before I went with Jim Miller, and it bite me in the ass. So this time I'm going for Gonzalez. I'm going with a decision win, 29-28. He wins the second and third round.
This is an interesting fight. I don't think I could bet on Jim Miller in this fight, guys. It's kind of sketchy because, like you said, Marcel, with the cardio issues, Gonzalez is a cardio machine, man. I mean, he gets stronger as the fight goes on, from what I've seen. I did watch his fights again. They're on YouTube. You guys can watch them. Combate. He's a decent prospect, but I'll be honest with you, man. He can be controlled on the ground. Rafa Garcia took him down, controlled him. Andres Quintana submitted him. The guy is good. He's a good, scrappy guy. Don't get me wrong. He's decent. But to me, I'm honestly surprised he didn't have to go through Contender Series. I'm not really sure why he got to go in the UFC and fight Jim Miller. It's kind of weird.
Apparently, Jim Miller had an opponent for this card, but I don't know who his opponent was.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. This match making me scratch my head a little bit. So I guess it's somewhat short for Eric Gonzalez. I mean, he can win, though. Don't get me wrong. He can win. But I still got to go with Jim Miller by submission, Marcel, because what I've seen from Gonzalez, he does leave his neck out. And even against Rafa Garcia, didn't get finished, but had him in an arm triangle choke, had him in a rear naked choke. He does this against Jim Miller. Jim Miller is so good at getting your neck and just choking you out. He's amazing at it. One of the best guys, or getting your arm and breaking it. He's amazing on the ground. There's no doubt about it. But again, 38 years old, the cardio is going to fade. This guy's only 29. I kind of feel like, based on the odds of Dogger Pass, but for my pure pick, I got to go with Jim Miller by submission in the first round. That's what I'm picking, Marcel. If he doesn't, though, I actually think he'll get finished by this guy. I don't think this fight goes the distance. Let me say that. I don't. Hey, there's plus money on a finish in this fight. That's something I might have to consider myself, guys, because I personally feel like it's not going to the distance, Marcel. I mean, maybe it's decision, but I don't think so. Let me get these comments. Morgan Bueno Silva, good top control. I think she wants to put Fiora on her back. That's what I'd like to see. I mean, I remember she'd been on her back, though. I mean, against what was it called? All her fights that I've seen, she's been on her back, man. She hasn't really been on top. I'm just trying to remember, against what's it called? Marina Moroz took her down and held her in that fight. Anyway, she's decent. Don't get me wrong, but Montana took her down. I had a bet in her in that fight, but she got up a lot too. If she does get in top, she could do some damage for sure. You're right. If she does get in top, but from what I've seen, Fiora's wrestling is actually not bad either. So It's an interesting fight. Don't get me wrong. I think the line is fair though. 2-1 for Manon. I think that's very fair.
Mm-hmm.
Doug says he likes Jim because of the experience. I agree with that too, Jim. I think that's a huge factor. I mean, I don't even know why I didn't mention that. I mean, I think it goes without saying. He's got almost 50 fights and he's been in the UFC forever. So he's fought everyone that's good, right? And again, Marcel, Eric Gonzalez couldn't beat guys like Rafa Garcia, Humberto Bandier, and these guys. Like they're not even in the UFC. So
True.
It's just that Jim Miller's 38 now. That's the thing, right? So at some point he's going to slow down.
Ask me about this fight 3 years ago, I would go with Jim Miller.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Time changes things, right? All right, let's go to this fight. I mean, talk about time and age. Andrei Arlovski, Marcel, he is one of the oldest guys in the UFC right now, guys. 42 years old, takes on 26-year-old Carlos Felipe, 16-year age gap, huge age gap. We have -110 each guy here, Marcel. It's a pure pick-em fight. Looks like the market's having a hard time deciding, but I'm going to just go ahead and I'll give my pick for this one. I like Carlos Felipe in this fight, Marcel. And this is someone who didn't even think he won his last fight against Jay Collier. I don't think he won that fight. I don't think he beat Justin Toffee either. But even knowing that, I still think he beats Andrei Arlovski. I think it's a good matchup for this guy because of the amount of volume he throws. He's moving forward the whole time. Always moving forward. And here's the thing. Andrei, he's got a lot of experience and stuff, but he's 42, guys, and there's a 16-year age gap. Anytime the age gap's that big, I'm always taking the younger guy. Every single time. And in this case, even though Andrei's been looking good against lately, he's been fighting guys like, Chase Sherman. I mean, that's not a great win. Tanner Boser, he shouldn't have won that fight. Philippe Lins, to me, it doesn't really mean much. I'm not saying Felipe is amazing by any means, but I think stylistically, guys, he wins this fight by decision, Marcel, most of the time, I would say. What do you think, man? Yeah, and Born Again says the distance. Fight goes distance. Let me double check that for you, Born Again. -160. So I'm pretty sure, I mean, both guys, don't get me wrong, Felipe doesn't have much, or Arlovski's chin is sketchy, but Felipe doesn't have much power. So I think it probably goes to decision, and Felipe wins the decision. What do you think, Marcel?
I'm going completely against you. I'm going with Arlovski decision.
There we go. We have a big disagreement. I like Felipe a lot in this fight, man. I want to hear your thoughts on Andrei. Besides the experience, tell me why you like him here.
Felipe, man, I mean, his fight so far in the UFC, I honestly haven't been impressed at all, man. I know he come forward,
Yep.
When he gets a decision, he always acts like he won the Super Bowl. But, I mean, I don't see it, man, He is like, and he always acts like a Diaz brother in the case, but really doesn't do anything of significant things, you know what I mean? He's on a 3-fight win streak. That looks good, but I don't think he won his last 2 fights, to be really honest. The Castro fight, he won that fight. The Spivak fight, he lost that fight, was majority, should have been unanimous, in my opinion. If you look at Arlovski, listen, man, I understand your concern with his age, with being 42, listen, man, he's not going to get any ranked opponents anymore, I think, Andrei Arlovski, But this is a guy, Felipe, I just don't see it, man. And maybe I'm wrong, and I'll come back next time and say, Adam, you saw it correctly, I didn't saw it correctly. But I feel Arlovski is probably even has a better cardio than Felipe. I go with Arlovski, man.
Yeah, no, I like Felipe, man. I think he wins the decision probably, guys. I just think the volume is going to be the difference. And honestly, it could be one of those fights where, like, Arlovski does land the cleaner shots, but because this guy's walking forward, the judges give him the division. You're right, Arlovski's chin has been great. I don't know if he'll get knocked out in this fight. It has looked pretty good the last few years. Felipe's a nice heavy prospect, fight of the night for Doug. I think he's decent. I just like the matchup for him. That's all. It's all matchups for me, Marcel. Everything's a different matchup. All right. Now let's go to the main event here, guys. Aspen Ladd against Norma Dumont. You talk about strange matchups, Marcel. Very, very bizarre circumstances. Aspen Ladd supposed to fight 2 weeks ago, 135, misses weight against Mason Chason. Fight gets canceled. Norma Dumont supposed to fight Holly Holm. Fight gets canceled now. Dumont's fighting Ladd. 5-round fight. The first time I think both girls have fought 5 rounds in the UFC, so that'll be interesting. Right now the odds are pretty competitive, but -135 for Ladd, +115 for Norma Dumont. What do you think, Marcel?
Yeah, so Aspen Ladd, after that weight cutting issue like 2 weeks ago, she makes a quick return to face Norma Dumont. One weight class higher. It's good to mention that, 145 for this one.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, I shouldn't mention that.
Yeah.
It goes without saying.
No problem. I feel like, Aspen Ladd has looked good so far in her UFC career. Besides that knockout against Jermaine Durandamy or the TKO with that one punch. She's nasty, She's nasty. She's strong. She can take you to the ground. She can pound you out. She's really good, man. I think Aspen Ladd is kind of got shit on because she pulled out of fights, but she's really good, man. And she's in the cage, in my opinion. If you look at Norma Dumont, good win last time out for her against Felicia Spencer. Was a split. I had it just unanimous. I had Dumont. I picked Spencer to win, but I had Dumont winning after watching the fight. Got a win over Ashley Evans Smith, and before that, she got stopped by Megan Anderson. The thing is, man, Aspen Ladd, I think she has more qualities, man. She's good on the ground. She's solid standing. Overall, a good fighter. I really like Aspen Ladd. She's still young as well. I'm taking Aspen Ladd here, and I'm taking her via TKO in the second or third round.
All right, cool. And by the way, Glenn said he's picking Arlovski as well. So there you go. And Felipe says he's a fan, or Doug said Felipe is a fan favorite. Sure is. Okay. So my thoughts on the main event, I think it's a very competitive fight for sure. Aspen Ladd is someone that I like, and I've bet on her, I think, in all of her fights, for the most part. And she's very dominant, especially at 135 and earlier in her career at 125. I mean, very dominant the ground and pound, like just super, super strong, gets you down. But, this is a different matchup, guys. First off, it's at 145. It's not 135. She's not going to have that size and weight advantage. She's kind of a bully. I mean, she's missed weight multiple times. She just kind of is a bully in this weight class at 135. Let's just call it what it is. Again, I like the girl. She's a good fighter, and she has great ground game, great ground and pound. But, Norma Dumont, Marcel, she's really good grappler too, guys. Very hard to take down. Wasn't taken down at all by Felicia Spencer, not once. I know Felicia didn't really go for as many takedowns as someone would have hoped, but still didn't. And Felicia Spencer's like she submitted like everyone else in that division. Like she's what?
Felicia doesn't have that nastiness Aspen has.
Let me keep talking. Let me go through the breakdown. Probably not, but Ashley Evans Smith too. I mean, that was obviously it's not an amazing win, but that is a good grappler, and she was able to completely dominate in the grappling and dominate the stand up. Obviously got KO'd by Megan Anderson, which at the time looked bad, and we all thought she kind of sucked. But this is a girl that's made a lot of improvements, in my opinion. And the fact that UFC booked her against Holly Holm, I think they thought she was even going to be competitive with Holly Holm. It's an interesting fight, Marcel. But the thing is, that I look at this fight. Aspen Ladd needs to get takedowns to win her fights. I think. I don't think on the feet she's that good. She doesn't move her head, guys. She doesn't move her head at all. She keeps on the center line. And you look at the fight with Jermaine Duran, just kept her head straight up and listen, it was an early stoppage, but who knows what it probably would have been hurt even worse as the fight went on. That to me is maybe one of the keys to this fight, because I think Dumont's a better striker, and I think better movement on the feet. I am worried that in that third round that Spencer got taken down at the end of the fight, end of the round, or reversed or something, and she was on her back. But I don't know. Aspen Ladd, too many question marks for me, Marcel. She hasn't fought in 2 years. She's coming off a bad weight cut 2 weeks ago. There's too many factors going against her, guys. I think this fight's basically a pick 'em fight. I'm going to side with the underdog here, Norma Dumont. I think she can really, surprise some people in this fight, Marcel. To me, she's kind of improving a lot and kind of underrated. It's just, again, it's not 135-pound fight. It's 145-pound fight, guys. Aspen, I loved her against Macy Saison. I don't really like her in this matchup. Ellington says Aspen's overlooked. I don't think she's overlooked at all, guys. I mean, she's ranked number 3 in the division. She hasn't fought in 2 years. Like, if anything, she's probably ranked too high. She hasn't fought in forever. Don't get me wrong. I like Aspen Ladd. She's young. She's only 26. She's a good fighter. I wouldn't be surprised if she won. But I think the matchup's actually decent for Norma Dumont from what I've seen. She keep the fight standing and outbox Aspen Ladd. I think she's better striking. So it's just tough because Ladd has been off her spawn. Maybe she's really improved that aspect of her game. But from what I saw before, her striking was not that good, Marcel, in my opinion. Straight wager likes Norma. So do I, man. I think she's just a better fighter at this point in this division. So we'll see what happens next week, Marcel. I mean, it's good to have some disagreement. I think we've been, last week, who'd you pick? Who'd you pick? Dern or Rodriguez? I can't remember. Who'd you pick last week?
I picked Dern. You picked
we
Rodriguez.
haven't disagreed with the women's. Okay. So there we go. All right. So just going through the card again, some underdogs that I picked. Felipe, I don't know. That's a pick-up fight, actually. Sorry. Marcel likes Gonzalez as a dog. And I liked Sanchez. And what was that? Who else? Marcel?
No, I don't know. Who
yeah,
else?
no, that's it. I think that's it. And Dumont for me. So just the two. That's what I was going to say. So right now, anyways, the lines can change. All right, let's talk about Contender Series. We've got the card tonight, Marcel. We'll talk about it for 5 minutes. Now, I just want to say one thing before we start this, look at this card. 2 guys missed weight. And as I made my tweet yesterday, I said, it's like being late for a job interview. It's like not showing up on time for work kind of thing. It really is, Marcel. It really is. So Jake Hadley missed weight. He's a good prospect, right? The other guy was Christian Rodriguez. He missed weight. I put some tweet out saying, I'm like, listen, man, like, these guys are good prospects, but Dana White's probably not going to sign him. He's never signed anyone before, guys, that's missed weight off the show. I put the tweet out. Jake Hadley's manager, I guess, saw my tweet. He goes, "You don't know what you're talking about," or something. Like, he's like, "You don't know anything about weight cutting." There's multiple reasons why guys miss weight, and I was like, "That's cool, man." I'm like, some guy paired him, MMA lawyer, some guy on Twitter. I was like, I'm like, he goes like, he's like, "That's a very simple take, right?" And I was like, I'm like, okay, I could get pissed at this guy for making a comment, but I could also just give him a simple response. I said, "That's cool, man, but here's a fact for you, buddy. 0 fighters have been signed off the show that miss weight. Dana White will not sign these guys if they win tonight, Marcel. They won't sign them. They might give them another fight. Tell me yes or no. Will they sign them if they win? Yes or no?"
Probably not, man. Even if it's they may be booking for another Contender Series fight, but
that's the best hope you get. You get another contender. Yeah. Why would you sign a guy that can't make weight in the Contender Series to the UFC? Tell me why, Marcel. Tell me why. Honestly, it's just not worth it. Like, there's too much of a headache. There's too many guys who are missing weight. Anyways, let's get into this card.
By the way, no disrespect to Jake Hadley, I like the guy, but he was talking crap on Cage Warriors guys who were fighting.
I know, he was the one talking shit last week when the guy missed weight. Now he's the guy who misses weight. I just thought it was funny how his manager went and defended him, and I was like, he goes, "That's a very simple take." I just thought it was funny, right? So I'm like, all right, it was obviously a rude comment, but why would you get upset at the guy? Just go in and fire it back at him. I go, "That's cool, man, but again, here's a fact for you. Dana White's never signed anyone in 5 years. In 5 years, Marcel never signed anyone off the show that's missed weight, and they won't tonight." So let's just go through the card here, guys, really quick. The last thing we'll talk about before we get here. I think we got 5 minutes left. Yeah, we got a few minutes, not even 5. But all right, Marcel, Marita Silva against Catherine Paprocki. Silva minus 370, Paprocki plus 310. You like Silva in this fight? She was supposed to fight, what's her name, Juarez, and the fight got rebooked against Paprocki, so she's stepping on short notice. I think Silva obviously should win, right?
I agree.
Yeah. Next fight here, Chris Duncan against Slava Borshev, Marcel. Interesting fight, Marcel. The odds are close. Minus 135 for Duncan, plus 115 for Borshev. And, Duncan was supposed to fight a few weeks ago, and I really liked him. I can't remember who he's supposed to fight now. The fight got scratched, but, this is a closer fight, I think, Marcel, but I still got to go Duncan, though. What do you think?
For sure, man. I think Duncan as well. He's a great prospect, and I'm happy you got another fight booked there.
Towards the, I don't know if this is. I'm not 100% sure it's his manager. Someone from Paradigm, MMA lawyer on Twitter. I mean, the guy. Like I said, he what?
David Fish, I saw.
Yeah, he's welcome to have his own opinion. He's welcome to have it, but I have my own opinion. My opinion is you're not going to get signed. It's not even an opinion. That's a fact, Marcel. It's actually not an opinion. It's a fact. Dana White's never signed anyone's missed weight, and he actually said in the press conference 2 weeks ago. John Morgan asked him, like, would you consider signing a guy who missed weight? And he goes, probably not. You know what I mean? That's what he says. It's case by case, obviously, guys, but probably not. This is the one time you don't want to miss weight. Even if they're impressive, Dana won't sign him. I agree, Doug. They won't. All right, next fight here, Marcel. We got Jake Hadley. That's the guy we're talking about against Mitch Proposed. I mean, even though he missed weight, I'm still picking him to win. Don't get me wrong. He's going to win this fight, I think. He is a good prospect. And it's a shame he missed weight because I think this is a guy that is UFC caliber. I'm not saying he didn't deserve to be in the UFC, guys. I think he should be. But again, if you can't make weight, why really are you going to be in the UFC? So I think he wins, Marcel. But if you're Dana White and Sean Shelby and Mick Maynard, you're just shaking your head right now. Give me your thoughts.
Would have been 100% signed by the UFC if he wins this one. So, I mean, if he made weight. So the thing is, maybe they will make an exception. I don't know, but I'll be surprised because Dana normally doesn't do that. So,
but I'd be surprised too. The only thing I could think is like if they were like, hey, this kid took it on like a couple days notice and he flew over from England or something and he makes some big statement. But if I'm Dana White, like you have 600 guys on the roster, why would you sign a guy who can't even make weight for the Contender Series? Marcel, that's just my opinion. I mean, this guy maybe goes to 135. He's not as good. All right, next two fights. Martin Boude, huge favorite, minus 650 against Lorenzo Hood. Martin Boude is going to win this one too. I mean, he's a huge favorite, guys. Obviously, Hood's got some power. He's a big dude. But Marcel, I think Boude is actually a decent heavyweight. He's only 29 years old. So you look at Hood, way older, I believe. He's 32. Not really way older, but he's been fighting a long time. He's been fighting since 2009 on and off. Took some years off, came back, looked good. But I think Boude probably takes him down, grinds him out, Marcel. What do you think?
Let's be honest, man. Boude has also fought better competition, man. Hood is on the 3-0 winning streak right now against fighters who are 4-17, 2-8, and 1-10. So I mean, Boude should have his way with him, to be honest, man.
And again, his only loss is to Juan Espino. That's not a bad loss.
Yeah.
Better than now. That way now Boude can get a contract, doesn't get flat on the hood. Yeah, I mean, you know what? It probably is good for Martin because if he just wins, they might sign him just because they probably aren't going to sign those other guys. And here's another guy missed weight. Christian Rodriguez, Marcel, came in at 137.25 for bantamweight fight. So missed weight by 1.25 pounds against Reyes Cortez. That's Tracy Cortez's brother. And obviously their older brother used to be an MMA fighter like 20 years ago for the Rage in the Cage, I think. That was the promotion in Arizona, Marcel. Pretty crazy, eh? So pretty crazy story. And this would be the third Cortez fighter, or second Cortez fighter in the UFC, but third in their family that's fighting. Give me your thoughts on this one. Minus 210 for Rodriguez, you missed weight, plus 175 for Cortez. Do you think Cortez can win this fight?
It's possible, but I still be going with Rodriguez, man. I like Rodriguez. I saw him fighting LFA and then CFFC. Got some good wins there. Didn't saw the Bellator fight he fought. I haven't seen that one. The Cortez looks like a fun prospect to me, man. But I mean, I think Rodriguez is overall a better fighter, so I would pick Rodriguez in this one. And also a big problem here, he also missed weight. So yeah.
Yeah, and the crazy thing with this guy is he's actually on that card, the Pitbull Chandler card, Marcel. He opened, I think he was on the prelims for that card. So I mean, the Bellator had him at one point. He was just one of those one fight deals, and went to LFA and CFFC. He's looked great, man. I think this guy is really good, and he honestly should be in the UFC, but he missed weight. So I just don't know if I could. I don't know, Marcel. What do you think? Could you sign him if he wins? I mean, even if he missed?
It's 100% up to Dana, McMahon, Sean Shelby. I mean, if he has a good performance, I would say why not. And the thing is, if you don't make weight next time, you're going a weight class up. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, I
don't know, man. It's not up to us. I mean, if it's a good performance, you might look the other way, but I don't know.
Jose asking is Reyes Cortez older than Brian. I just checked. Brian's 30 and Reyes is 29. Again, they had I can't remember what is the older brother's name, the one that passed away, Marcel. Let me check, guys. I gotta remember this one because it's not right for me to mention the guy's name. His name was Jose Cortez. Yeah, so it's crazy that Tracy she saw him fight when she was a kid or something, and watched and just kind of basically followed in his footsteps. It was pretty crazy, and Tracy's obviously a good fighter. All right, I think that's it really for Contender Series and for UFC, Marcel. Is there anything else you want to talk before we get out of here? I can double check the news quickly, guys. We're already past an hour. We're gonna get out of here, but I think we got everything we wanted to talk about for the most part, Marcel. So plug your stuff, man. Let's get out of here. You guys enjoyed the show.
By the way, you saw Chuck Liddell's post on Instagram.
Yeah, he said so. We should give an update for that. Yeah, Chuck said, because we talked about it yesterday. So Chuck said that it was actually him that was the one who was the victim of domestic violence, and I'm listening. It's just a very complicated issue. We don't know much details, but it's just bizarre that he would get arrested and have to post a $20,000 bond when it was him that was the one getting attacked. It doesn't really make sense to me. So I'm not really sure what's going on, but I just hope the best for them, man. Marcel, I just hope the best for that family.
The Pena situation even looks worse, since yesterday.
Luis Pena apparently hit his girlfriend, and some other woman tried to intervene. He hit her too. Yeah, he's a piece of shit. So he's gonna get cut. UFC really needs to put their foot down, man. But honestly, like you look at the NFL, for instance, they cut or they basically, John Gruden got canceled or whatever they want to say, fired, right, by the Raiders. But there's a lot of NFL players that are still playing that beat their girlfriends and wives. There's videos of guys like that have hit girls on video, and they're still in the NFL. Kareem Hunt, for instance, Joe Mixon. These guys are still good players in the NFL. So I just think in general, the leagues will look the other way for the most part, guys. It's stupid, but it's just the way it is. And Marcus, last question of the day. Any news on Strickland getting another opponent? He just posted a video about Bilal Muhammad said no, and he wants to fight in January now. So I think they're going to give Sean his own card, Marcel. I talked about this the other day. Remember I said that card's too stacked? I would rather have Strickland get his own card. Then the fight gets canceled, he's going to get his own card. So I think Sean Strickland, if Kevin Holland beats Dawkins, they could do that. Jack Hermanson would be a really good fight. That would be a really good fight. Honestly, I never really understood the Rockhold fight. I know they were shit-talking and stuff, but Rockhold wasn't even ranked. I didn't really see the benefit for Strickland taking that fight. I never really knew why he took it. Especially knowing that Rockhold always hurt. Marcel, plug yourself. Let's get out of here.
Big Marcel24, Twitter, Instagram, MMADNA.nl, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook.
Guys, follow me on Twitter at MMAOB Podcast, MMAOBDaily.com. We got our YouTube channel, obviously. Subscribe, like all that stuff. We're on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, all those places, guys. Also follow me over at bjpenn.com, my MMAnews.com, and let's see here, Elite Sports Betting, Elite fantasy, and also with bookies.com and the All-Star. So a lot of places these days, busy, but love it, and appreciate everyone who's in the chat today. Talk to you later, guys. Good luck with everyone in the bet, and let's go Norma Dumont so I can be right and Marcel could be wrong once again.